Hello game designers, in this video we're going to cover how to model the head for the female model. When we last left off we attached the hands to the arms, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and turn on the our reference by hitting H, get our references back. Okay, and let's go ahead and start out with our primitive, or let's start with our settings. Let's go ahead and make sure that we have symmetry off when we start off until we start doing things that there are two of. And let's go ahead and start with our primitive. So we're going to start with a sphere. And you know, if you have interactive on or not, doesn't matter, it'll just create it. We're going to make sure that everything's zeroed out. And let's go ahead and move it where we want the center to be. Let's go ahead and move it all the way up here. And let's go ahead and definitely decrease the size down to something much smaller. Let's go, let's try, I don't know, 0.5, something small here. And let's go ahead and use F to frame it, frame the sphere on each one here. And see how we like the diameter here. And like I said, I always like to start with something small and then work my way up and make it big. She has a kind of elongated head here. So we're probably going to have to do a lot of rotating here. I kind of imagine us rotating the sphere entirely kind of slanted to kind of meet all the geometry that we want to do here. So so that's kind of our plan, okay? So we're going to kind of, I think I'm going to rotate the entire sphere and then create all the edge loops that way. But the most important part is that we make the right number of subdivision axes. If everyone remembers, I should do that right now. If you look at the body, and look at the top view. So let me go hide the sphere real quick. I'm gonna put H, hide the sphere real quick. If you go ahead and look at the body, this is where our neck hole is. And let's go ahead and count it real quick. Go to face mode and we're gonna count. 1, 2, I'm gonna shift left click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Let's go ahead and delete that. Okay, so now we have the hole for the head. If we have 12 faces, we also have 12 vertices. So that tells us when we go back to our sphere and unhide it, that we're going to need 12 subdivision axes. It's going to turn out to 12. Okay, and for subdivision height, it's kind of up to you how detailed you want it to be. But I like the rule of 6, so I'm going to either do 6 or 12. I think for her, I definitely want at least 12, maybe even 18. But I'm just going to do 12 and keep it simple because there's a low poly model that we're dealing with here. Okay, and I'm going to use the side view right now to kind of figure out what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with go ahead and deforming it with scale. So I'm going to use the R tool, and I'm going to scale it this way, kind of get it how long I want it to be. And I'm going to go ahead and move it down a little bit here. And like I said, I imagine because her head is kind of shaped like this, and her neck is like this, I can just kind of cheat a little bit by using the rotate tool and kind of rotating my axes kind of like this. And this will help me make the chin, the back of the head, quicker with relatively lower amount of edge rings. So let's go ahead and see what I want to do now. Let's go ahead and use R tool and kind of scale it a little bit more. And I don't want to get scaled too much because I do want some room to sculpt here. And that's kind of like how I want to plan it. Okay. All right. Maybe a little bit lower. Okay. Somewhere around here, maybe a little bit like that. Okay. So the first point is let's go ahead and start creating my neck. I do want to start with the neck first. So I'm going to go to vertex mode, and I'm going to zoom in on one of the points. Now, if you really can't click the low point, just go ahead and hit F and frame on that one point, and that will bring you closer. So I'm going to grab the lowest point, and I'm just going to drag it way down because I'm going to make this hole anyway. So I'm going to drag it way down. I'm going to go to face tool and just go ahead and delete these faces here. Select all these faces, hit delete, and that will create the neck hole that we're going to be working with. Now, because we slanted all of these edge rings, it's actually kind of easier now to use edge mode instead of vertex mode, and just double click on each edge and then get the entire edge ring and work with it that way. So I'm going to start now preparing this to connect to the neck. So I'm going to use the R tool and go ahead and scale out and move it down where I want it. And it's getting pretty good already. and looks like it's pretty much aligned there. But remember, when you are scaling for the neck, that you want to scale in both directions here. So I'm going to hit frame on here and use R tool again and see if my edge ring is thick enough. So it looks like a little bit too thick. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Okay, that's good. Now for the second edge ring, I think I'm going to go from kind of like the bottom of the neck to the back of the bottom of the hairline here. So I'm going to double click on the edge, and I'm going to try scaling it first because it looks like I have a pretty good angle already. Okay, and remember, you got to scale in both directions here. So if you see you're a little bit too big here, you can scale down. This one actually, even this edge ring could be a little bit bigger. So let me click on this edge ring real quick. I'm gonna go back to the body of this one, and I actually don't like this edge ring because you can see right here I'm really off from her neck. I kind of need to scale much more wide, like that, and then scale just a little bit more like that. Okay, so I kind of fixed that neck over here, so I can fix the neck up here. So I'm gonna go back to my sphere and go back to edge mode and click on this edge ring and kind of match this edge ring. So I want to scale it like that, really get it nice and wide there, and go ahead and scale this way, and there you go. So it looks like it's gonna kind of meet up there. Again, if we have a little bit extra, we can just go ahead and sculpt it. Okay, I'm gonna go back to here and scale it. Looks like I'm need a little more there, need a little more here. Okay, and actually I think this one I want to make all the way to her neck. No, I don't want to do that. I probably want to use the next edge ring. So I'm going to move it down just a tad bit and then move it here. Okay, on the next edge ring, I'm actually going to make it very close. I'm going to make this point right here on this edge ring go to the bottom of her chin and to the back of her head. So I'm going to move it down. I'm going to use the R tool and really scale to, I hit one point here, and you can already see that I can't scale this way much anymore. So I'm just going to use the blue axes now. I'm going to need to move it way down, like that. Okay, center it more, and use the R tool and scale it much more, and move it down a little bit more. Maybe rotate it a little bit like that, kind of get it away from the other points, kind of form that neck. R tool again, scale it this direction, and now I kind of got that point there, I'm going to check back on this axis in front. Need to lower down the neck a little bit to about there, and that looks like I'm going to have a neck. Okay, so yeah, it's going to look a little bit weird because basically in 2D view you kind of have that, you know, really depth perception. But let me go ahead and show you guys real quickly by turning off the body. I'm going to just hide it now that I have my neckline where I want it. Hide the body and kind of look using the perspective view here, and you can see that we really are forming a chin. Okay, we're forming that chin, that chiseled chin for her. Okay, all right, so let's go back and continue the model. Go back to edge mode here. Double click on this edge, and eventually, you know, I do want to get to the point where we're just doing horizontal. We don't want to do too many vertical, but actually the whole thing is kind of slanted already, which is fine. I don't think that that's a problem. Let's go ahead and scale it up a little bit here. And you kind of see on this view, I'm already kind of too as wide as I want to be. So now I'm only going to work on this axis here. And like I said, I can sculpt these lips and stuff later, and when we get into more finer detail. I just want to kind of get where I want these vertices there. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next edge ring. And again, let's kind of center it, scale it a little bit here. You kind of see from this perspective, I already kind of went too much or enough. So I'm going to start scaling this way. I probably need to move it a little bit there. Move it a little bit there. Use the R tool again. Scale only in this direction. Okay, and that looks good. Again, I'm not too worried about the nose, so don't worry about the nose. We can pull those points later and kind of define that point a little bit later. But just kind of at the tip of her nose, maybe I'm already moving a little bit too far. Yeah, kind of right there. Okay, And then kind of go to this one, kind of center it where I want it. Go ahead and R scale tool it up. And go back to R tool. I kind of went too far this way. Remember, we're not going to really sculpt for the ears. We can use it soft select later and kind of pull out and make the ear definition if we want to make it, give it a little bit of definition here. I'm going to try to ignore her hair here. We're just going to model her actual head. And I'm going to use the move tool, kind of get it centered. Okay, and go ahead and use the R tool and scale it this way. And again, this is not, a requirement. If you want to just do edge rings and keep it horizontal, that's up to you. But you're probably going to need a lot more edge loops to give this kind of geometry, just because her head is kind of elongated this way. Okay, so I'm going to use the R tool again, and I'm just going to repeat the same process here. Make sure you guys again keep your eye on this part right here if you're too far or whatnot. And it looks like I can still keep going. Yep, and get around there, and now I can scale just this way. Go ahead and hit frame again, get a little bit closer to where I'm working with. I'm gonna click on the next edge loop. Looks like I'm going to need to move it down and up, something like that. And go ahead and use the R tool and scale. Okay, and kind of getting closer to this one. Looks like I can move it a little bit more this way. Okay. All right, and again, we'll come back and resculpt some of these, so don't worry if it's not exactly where you want to be quite yet, because we're going to have to do some, soft moving anyway. All right, let's go and use the move tool, get this thing centered. So when I say centered, I mean like, okay, wherever this line is the distance between here and here, the same as the distance between here and here. Okay, and I can kind of see right now that that I'm losing track of my other vertices, so I'm just going to grab all of these right now and just pull it up. Okay, or maybe just grab the vertices. Go to vertex, grab all these vertices and kind of get it out of the way, so that we're not, going to collide with those, because we eventually will. So I'm going to go to edge, back to edge. I'm going back to this edge loop right here. I was in the middle of scaling it. Again, you're going to scale it 2 directions here. So I'm going to scale in 2 directions until I feel like I have the rings that I want. Maybe a little bit more on this one. Okay, maybe this one I could have done a little bit more too. Pull a little bit more there. Maybe go back to this one, scale it just a little bit more. Okay, all right. So when you get to the top, it's going to be a little bit more tedious to click on the edge ring. But if you click on F to frame it, you can really get close and see that you're clicking on the edge ring. Okay, so I'm going to use obviously move this edge ring way down here, and again try to center it. Okay, so it'll be something like that or so. So I'm thinking distance between here and here, distance between here and here. So I'm going to use the R tool now and scale in both directions again. Okay, and obviously from this view that I'm not wide enough, so I'm going to go kind of wide and oval, right, and move it up just a tad bit. Okay, and then grab this one vertex. Now I obviously can't use the edge loop because it's not an edge anymore. It's just a vertex. So go to that one vertex and see where I want to put this. So it's somewhere like that. Okay, and that looks like our kind of beginning point of this face. So let's go ahead and use the our smooth view and kind of see what we got going on here. And I'm going to go here, kind of use our perspective view and kind of see what we're going on. So we seem like to have the basic geometry of her head. Now we're probably going to do a little bit of sculpting just to get a, even though it's low poly, to let them know that yes, our character has a mouth, a nose, an ear. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to the move tool, and I'm already on vertex mode, and I'm going to click on, let's go a little bit at her chin. And now remember how to use soft select when we use B, and we're going to pull out a little bit, and we're just going to try something like this. I don't know. Let's try that and see how we like it. And I'm going to pull right here on the mouth. And it looks good. Looks like I got just the right pull that I wanted. Okay, so let's go to her nose. Her nose is kind of right here right now. Um, this unfortunately we don't have one point really used for her nose. I guess we can move this edge ring. So let's see how we can do this. So I'm gonna go to this point, and I'm actually gonna turn off soft select because the nose is so pointy that I don't think I really need to move more than one point. Okay, and that looks good, right? So it's just kind of giving us a soft idea of where her nose would be. If you really want to give it more definition, you can kind of pull this point in and up, right? And that might give you a little bit more of a nose, and maybe pull this point a little forward here. Um, maybe this one's a little bit too high. Let me grab this point here, push it down, but use soft select now. It's kind of, I'm using my front view to kind of see that that I didn't really pull the points kind of all together. Maybe I need to do a little bit more. Okay. Okay, there we go. So we kind of got this little nose now in soft view. Let's go ahead and go to our ears. So the ear, if I'm using my front view and my side view. I'm using my side view to select the point. I'm using my front view to kind of see where it's centered. So right here, it looks like where the ear is going to be. And ears are relatively small, so I'm going to kind of lower down my soft select here and just pull a little bit here to give it a little bit of a definition. Oh, when I'm dealing with the ears, I got to definitely turn symmetry on. So I noticed I didn't pulling this ear. So again, when you're dealing with things that have two of them, make sure you turn on your object X symmetry so that you're pulling both sides of the ear. So now we can kind of pull a little bit here, and you can kind of see from the side. And if you want to add more definition, so here's an example where maybe the ear, if you look at it, looks too bulgy. Like look from the top view, it's way too bulgy, and it's you're grabbing too many vertices. So this is where you want to kind of tighten up this area to give it more definition. So I'm going to frame it on my side view here. So to really make the ears a little bit more pointy, we're going to have to do a few adjustments. So let's go ahead and go to vertex mode. And let's go and pull these points in. Okay, so I'm going to turn off leave soft select on, but be relatively small. And let's go ahead and pull in on the ears to kind of give the ears a smaller area of effect. Okay, and I'm going to pull in the corners a little bit. And you can see now that the ear bump that we created is not so defined. Okay, if we want to define it, we can kind of use these points a little bit more and pull out for the ears. Okay, and kind of click on that point there, pull it out a little bit, click on the top of the ear, which is I think right here. Maybe pull that a little bit down and then outward. Okay, and let's go ahead and finish this up by go ahead and welding now. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the body, use H to turn on the body, and let's go ahead and finish this up. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go to combined and combine them. Okay, and we're going to go to the neck area, go back to vertex mode, and turn off soft select. And we're going to use target weld, and we're going to use the center algorithm. So now that we combined them, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in using my side view. I'm going to turn off my reference because it's kind of in the way. And let's go back and click on here, go to vertex mode and go back to poly view. Okay, and let's start on the back of the neck here. Oh, these ears are way too big. But anyway, we'll work on that later. Okay, and let's go ahead and start welding. So to target weld onto center, just drag the points that you want to weld and click like that, move your camera, go like that, go to your camera like that, connect those, and if you have symmetry on, it's relatively quick. And yeah, there we have it. So it looks a little bit like she has elven ears, but if you go to smooth view, it's not nearly as bad. We can go in there and detail it later, decrease the size of it, the bump, and then whatnot. But let's go and go back to our reference view, or poly view, sorry, and see where we're at. And yeah, there we have it, sculpting the head of the female.